All right, welcome back. So the last video we talked about 3 P's to get ready for the upcoming lawn season. So first one was planting, second one was prepping your equipment, and the third one was picking out your products. So today I want to specifically get into my personal plan for the upcoming lawn season. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Do what works best for you, but have a plan. So you can write it out on paper, handwrite it, type it, whiteboard, use an app, whatever works best. For me, Google Doc works best. First up, I have a goal this year. My goal is back to basics. Put your goal up at the top of your lawn plan. It could be different. Maybe you want to have a golf course lawn. Maybe you just want to have a nice lawn. You've had weeds and you've had thin areas issues, and since you've had your house, and this year your goal is to have a nice lawn. Whatever your goal is, put it up at the top so you can always keep that top of mind. But my goal is just to be back to basics. I want to spend more time this year fishing, doing other things. I want to spend a little bit more time on my landscaping versus the lawn. So that's the goal this year. So after that, I've got my plan broken down into 3 different areas. I have Bermuda Lawn in the front. I've got Cool Season Fescue Lawn in the back. They each require different applications at different times. There is some overlap, which is nice, but for the most part, there are some different timings, so 2 different plans. My last section is landscaping to do. So I've got a few things that I need to do around the landscape, and I've got those written down as well. So let's get into the first part of my plan this year, and that's my Bermuda Lawn. All right, so really not much going on in the Bermuda Lawn until February or March. So step 1 in my plan is going to be pre-emergent. I'm going to use prodiamine, specifically a Lesco Stonewall product. I've had great luck with it. It's around 40 bucks or so for a bag. I'm going to put that down in February or March when my soil temps start crossing the mid-50s, and I should be set. This application is going to prevent crabgrass and a few other weeds throughout the summer and spring. All right, next up on the Bermuda plan, this can go for the fescue plan as well. In March, I'm going to do my equipment. I'm going to service my equipment. So I'm going to get my mower serviced up. I'm going to order a tune-up kit for the Time Master and just kind of go through that whole mower, make sure it's ready for the season. I'm going to re-spool my trimmer, make sure I got fresh fuel and everything, crank everything up, make sure I'm ready to go for the season. All right, next up, that Bermuda is going to start waking up sometime at the end of April or May in my area. This could be very different depending on where you live, but this is when I'm going to go for the scalp. So you always want to scalp your Bermuda down after the winter. You want to get that dead, ugly growth off and let that green come up. And usually that's going to be late April, early May for me. Last year I scalped it too early. I don't want to make that mistake again. If you scalp it too early, you could get damaged by frost and affect your green up. You could also introduce a lot more weeds that are going to germinate based on the sunlight. So this year I'm waiting until I get that 50% green up. Then I'm going for the scalp late April or early May. Next up on my Bermuda Lawn, basically May through August, is just regular fertilizer. I use a cheap Vigoro product at Home Depot. I did a video last year on that. It was about $42 a bag. That product this year is up to almost $55 per bag. I'm gonna go ahead and buy another bag of that at the beginning of the season. I'll do apps every month, give or take. If there's a drought in the middle of the summer, I may skip an app, but for the most part, I'm gonna do a light app 4 months, May through August. And that's basically my fertilization for the Bermuda Lawn. All right, so another thing May through August is gonna be post-emergent spray as needed. If the pre-emergent does its job, I shouldn't have a whole lot of problems with crabgrass, but there are some other broadleaf weeds that I had some issues with last year. So I'll use a product like a Roundup that's safe for lawns, or a Weed Stop product from Spectracide, and I'll go out there and spray as needed. All right, so once August is over, the applications are almost done for Bermuda. So September, I'm not gonna fertilize anymore. You can do an app, but I typically don't. I switch to focusing more on my Cool Season yard behind me. September, I am gonna do my fall pre-emergent though. That's gonna prevent POA. So I'll go ahead and have that product on hand and ready to go towards the end of the summer. And Bermuda will be winding down. Other than that, it's just cultural practices throughout the season. So I'm gonna maintain my mowing once or twice a week, depending on how it's growing. I'm gonna water as needed to try to get an inch or so down of water if I'm not getting rainfall. And that's basically my basic Bermuda program. Alrighty, so next up is the fescue plan. Fescue in Georgia is not an easy thing to have, but same thing as Bermuda. So February, March, this will be an overlap application. I'll do the pre-emergent in the back fescue, and that's gonna prevent the crabgrass and some other weeds for coming up. So I'll do the same application back there, as I do in the front yard, the same timing. Okay, so one thing that's different is fescue. I'm gonna fertilize in the spring early. I'm gonna start way earlier than Bermuda. The fescue will green up starting in March. So I'll go ahead and apply fertilizer March, April, probably 2 apps, one in March, one in April, and maybe May. It depends on what temperatures are doing, but after that, I'm gonna shut it down till August. I'm not gonna do anything as far as fertilizer goes in the middle of the summer on the fescue. All right, and much like the Bermuda front lawn, I'm gonna mow and water as needed. I'm probably gonna mow it a lot less. In fact, once I get into the middle of the summer, I'll go 2, 3, maybe 4 weeks sometimes without mowing that fescue. It's very shady in my backyard, so it's not getting a lot of sunlight. The heat really starts taking its toll, so I'm gonna mow minimal back there, whereas I'll be mowing twice a week on the front. I'll probably be mowing every other week for the most part from May to August on the fescue. Now, another big difference with fescue is in September, I'm gonna overseed. It's pretty much an annual tradition with the shade. My grass is gonna thin out, the heat's gonna thin it out, so I'll go ahead and start thinking late summer and August about what I need to do as far as my overseed goes. I'll source my seed, I'll have that on hand, and I'll go ahead and look at the temperatures and the forecast, and I'll try to pick a good date to get the seed drop down in the backyard and do an overseed. All right, so the bonus section, the third, so my landscape, and maybe you're like me, you've got some different things that you want to do in your yard for landscaping. I've got a few this year, and let me read the list. So I'm gonna try to mulch around this playground and swing set area. I've got a couple of rails on my fence that are rotted out, so another thing I plan to do in the landscape is fix that fence. I would like to put a simple little paver path, maybe just stepping stones from my back deck around to my fence. I really want to do something to add some color to the back. I've got some nice landscaping in my front yard that the previous homeowners over the years have done, so I'm not too worried about that. I'd like to add some extra hostas and some different things in my backyard. I'm gonna try to do those on a budget though, so stay tuned for more on that. All right, next up, my composting. I have a big compost bin that I started last year. I'm gonna pull that up and turn that really good, have that ready for the fall, and start a new one right next to the old one. All right, so that pretty much does it for my plan. It's on a Google Doc, so it's a working document. One thing I really could recommend on your lawn plan is be flexible, because we're all kind of bound by Mother Nature. Every year can be different. The products that you use in light may change, they may not be available. Maybe you decide you want to switch something up. But be flexible with your lawn plan. Maybe you get an invasion of armyworms or a disease and you have to add in some kind of, disease control product. Maybe you have to add in some kind of insect control product. Those are the things that I would say do on an as needed basis or based on previous history in your yard. But be flexible in the lawn season. So hope you enjoyed listening to my lawn plan. Hope the weather's going to start improving soon. It's been real rainy this season in North Georgia. It's been pretty cold, but the spring months are ahead. The days are getting a little bit longer, so we'll be out on the lawn very soon. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.